Mr. Netherland?
Here.
Mr. Ashworth?
Here.
Mr. Zoller?
Here.
Mr. Hazlett?
Here.
Mayor Brown?
Here. Approval of the minutes from the prior meeting? Motion to approve. Second. Vote.
Mr. Hazlett?
Yes.
Mr. Ashworth?
Yes.
Mayor Brown?
Yes.
Mr. Zoller?
Yes.
Mr. Netherland?
Yes. All righty, is there any public comment? Uh-oh. There is no public comment. Administrator's report, Greg?
All right. This is the event season, isn't it? So last weekend, had a very good event, the Top of the World, the 4th annual Top of the World Rodeo. It was well attended. I don't know how it stacked up against previous years, but it was certainly not quite a standing room only crowd. Well, probably if they tried to sit down, there wouldn't have been room, except on the ground.
Good turnout.
But very good turnout, and really good cowboys and cowgirls. It was a good show. And then coming up, these are really the issues coming up before our next city council meeting. The 21st annual Once Upon a Time in the West Art Show will be held up at the Cripple Creek Heritage Center starting weekend after this coming weekend, June 24th, and then the 85th annual Donkey Derby Days will be the 24th to the 26th. On the night of the 24th, we'll have a street dance in the beer garden behind the Brass Ass. I believe that's where it's going to be. And then also on the 25th, the festivities begin with the pancake breakfast at the Cripple Creek Fire Station beginning at 7 a.m. I'm not sure, are the Elks doing that again? No.
We're tired.
Well, I will say the Elks had a very good breakfast for the rodeo down there at the fire station.
Thank you.
It was very, very tasty.
Thank you.
And then on the 25th, on that Saturday, we'll be at the parade. And of course, there's, 7 a.m. kind of kicks everything off, and then I believe the 2 Mile High Club booth and whatnot opens at 8 o'clock, and then everything will be going until 10 p.m. that night. Then on the 26th, it starts off again with the pancake breakfast festivities, 4 through 5 p.m. on Sunday the 26th. And also starting the same weekend as Donkey Derby Days is the show at the Butte Theater, The Dogging of the Donkeys. I believe that first show will be 7 p.m. on the 24th. And then also starting before the next city council meeting will be the show Pippin, and that will run concurrently, not the exact same days, but it'll begin on July 1st and go through August 27th. And then, of course, then we'll have our fireworks on the 4th of July. And so there'll be bands, beer, and vendors, and bands in the evening, and the afternoon, and the evening. And then I understand that they're trying to arrange a World War II reenactment. And I believe where it's going to be is south of Myers, that lot where there's like remnants of a house and whatnot. They're south of Myers Avenue between 3rd and 4th Streets. And then the fireworks, I believe, will begin at 9:30 p.m. Little update on Ring to Peak. That's the trail that's been in the works since the 90s, trying to get a continuous trail around Pikes Peak. We had a meeting with the Trails and Open Space Coalition back in March. They presented trails that went by the Cripple Creek and Victor reservoirs that supplied the city with our water. We did not care for those alignments, so we provided some options, which would be an upper trail, which would be, I think, technically out of the big horn sheep landing areas, but the state biologists will have to decide that. And then we also provided trails that would bring people into and through the cities of Cripple Creek and Victor. And so it's been submitted to the Trails and Open Space Coalition for their review, and then we're waiting their response. Senate Bill 16073, we've talked about that throughout the legislative session, but the governor signed the bill last week on June 8th. Mayor Brown, Councilman Zellner, and myself, we were in attendance at the signing. Hey, what happened to that pen?
I got it.
Okay.
There's a put it on the wall.
All right. And then next week, a few of us will be attending the 94th annual conference put on by the Colorado Municipal League. I know that Mayor Brown, Councilman Zellner, and Hazlett, and myself will go. As various city employees will go, some will attend the entire conference, others will go over like for the SURSA luncheon, the annual SURSA luncheon. And then, if you all would check your calendars and check amongst yourselves, but the Cripple Creek Casino Association would like to hold a meeting. It's my understanding that the association membership is dwindling. I think most recently, the Wildwood and the Double Eagle have dropped out of the association, and they would like to, the rest of the members, basically the casinos that are on the 200 block, that would be the Triple Crown, the Century, and the Bronco Billy's, would like to meet to discuss the joint marketing campaign and the trolley project. And right now, the meeting is set up for July 7th. That would be Thursday, July 7th at 3 p.m. I plan to go, hopefully Paul will be able to go, and Steve Kitzman, as well as Camille Blakely from our marketing firm. And then I've got listed 2 council spots, so if anybody, yeah.
I'll be out of the country.
You'll be out of the country? Good for you. Hide now.
You don't know that's good.
Okay. But anyway, so if somebody else wants to go, I told them it'd be very rare that the entire council could or would show up.
Right.
So anyway, just check the calendars. If anybody else wants to go, we'll definitely put Tom down. I'll put a reminder out, Tom, for you.
I appreciate it.
And that's all I have. And we're 7 minutes into the meeting.
I'd just like to say, on behalf of the Elks Club, I'd like to thank Ralph's Break Room. Chris supplied all the food for the pancake breakfast for the, I appreciate it. Thank you. Thank you.
I forgot to ask if those eggs came from your chickens.
I don't have but one left. Well-fed foxes in my room. All right, thanks, Ray. Finance Director's report, Paul?
Good evening, council.
Good evening.
Let me give you a quick update. We just closed out the month of May last week and sent out the reports on Friday. But quick update, May's revenues were $670,945. Expenses, $823,663. So we had negative cash flow of $152,718. Year-to-date, revenues have been just over $3 million with expenses at $3.8 million, so negative cash flow of $774,571. However, that's nothing to worry about because we get 2 of our largest chunks of change, one in the gaming taxes in September, which we're expecting about $1.5 million, and then in October, the HP gaming tax, roughly $800K. So we still have about $2.3 million coming in.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I read the report and I was a little skeptical when I first read it. It's like, yeah. Thank you, Paul.
Thanks, Bob.
Okay, agenda item number 1. Request council to consider banning or limiting the amount of hours a dog can be chained or tethered in Cripple Creek. Marilyn Karlowski?
Hi.
Correct?
My name is Marilyn Karlowski. I live at 434 Vindicator in Cripple Creek, Colorado. With the packet that I gave everybody, you had a chance to read it. I hope you've already made up your mind, and it's a yes. But my mission is nobody deserves to live on a chain, and that's dogs. Anyway, let's see. Some of the reason this came to my attention was when you guys all want tourists here, right? You want to bring tourists in. That's a yes. I brought my niece to Cripple Creek, and as we're driving into town, we look over to the left, and we'd never seen anything like this before, a dog's chained to a trailer, and that kind of upset her. And then I said, well, I gotta go to the bank. And so we went to the bank, and in the back of the bank is a dog chained to a trailer who barks every time you go through the drive-thru. And she looked at it again. So then she said she wanted to go out somewhere. I think it's Shelf Road. So we went out there. She wanted to go down the whole area of Shelf Road. So we went down there, and there was another trailer with 2 dogs chained up to it. And you know what she said after that? I don't want to go anywhere in Cripple Creek. I want to go home. So this kind of brought it to my attention because, to be honest, where I lived before, I've never ever seen anything like this in my entire life. And I did take a certain interest in the dog chained behind the trailer in back of Family Dollar, and I started giving the dog food, and one day I was on the way to the Springs, and I fed the dog, and I drove away, and the dog looked really weird. And I just sat on my way, and I thought, no, I have to go back. It was snowing. So I went back, and I got a closer look, and the dog was like shivering and shaking, and what happened was the chain was so twisted up, the dog could not get into the trailer to get warm. And this upset me, and I undid the chain, which was very sharp. I got cut, and then I found out I hadn't called the pound yet. That during a winter storm, the dog was locked in the trailer for a week with no food and water during the storm. And after I contacted the pound, things have changed. And, but they said, you can keep a dog locked as long as you want because there's no laws against that, and there's no laws against chain. So, that gives you a little background. You have the packet, so unless anybody wants more, I don't have any more. But I just wanted to quote what Cassius Clay, or Muhammad Ali, whatever you want to call him, had to say. Impossible is just a word thrown around by small men who find it easier to live in the world they've been given than to explore the power they have to change it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Marilyn, can I ask you a question?
Well, I hope she told me I'm deaf. I have a cochlear implant in my ear. It's an artificial hearing thing, so I'll do the best I can to respond. Yes.
I'll yell out to you.
Okay.
Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Can you hear me?
I can hear you.
You want to move up here?
She could grab a mic maybe and come up here.
I just want to ask her a question and she can respond.
If she could grab a mic though, out of that holder. Should we record that?
Yeah.
What's the question? It's a real echo in here.
Well, we got it turned up for you, so come over here. Yeah, I had a question for you.
Okay.
In terms of what you're asking for, in terms of banning the chaining of dogs.
Okay, I'm also saying if you can't ban it entirely,
Right.
could you please limit it? And I talked to Nancy, and she said there aren't that many dogs chained, it shouldn't be a problem, and she'd enforce it.
Okay, so you're not here to actually advocate complete banning of dogs?
That's what I want, but if you can't do that,
Yes. Then
the number 2 thing is in the packet that I sent,
I have it.
saying, okay, a dog can be chained from like all day, you know, and a dog obviously can be chained when you take it to the park or something like that.
Okay.
But at night, you have to take your dog in and give it some care. So what I'd like to see it totally banned, as is many states have already done it. But if you don't want to do that, my number 2 thing is banning the hours of chaining and also making the rules, the dog has to have water, the dog has to have a license. I rescued one of the dogs, no license, no rabies, nothing, and he has to be taken care of. And I won't even go on about some of the conditions that dog was in. But they have to have sanitary bowls and stuff like that, so,
Okay, thank you.
okay, I want it banned altogether. I don't know how this goes. Didn't expect it.
There's a time limit on this.
Be difficult,
You know.
yeah.
It seems to me we have rules and regulations in place already, but if a doctor, chief, maybe you could speak to this. In your opinion, wouldn't a dog locked in a trailer for a week without food fall under some sort of animal abuse or neglect?
Mike Rulo, Chief of Police. It can go as high as a Class 6 felony. In fact, Mr. Hazlett, and, our animal control as well as our officers are very aggressive about enforcing our ordinances with regard to animal cruelty, animals at large, animal licensing. And Nancy is very vigilant. In terms of the chaining issue, I frankly can't disagree because there are issues associated with the chaining because dogs become more aggressive, they're less socialized, and it's not a healthy thing to do for lengthy periods of time. A lot of folks put dogs out basically to defecate, urinate on a chain for periods of time. As an example, Denver has an ordinance that limits it to 1 hour. How do you enforce it? Well, certainly you enforce it because you might have a neighbor or somebody who's concerned. As you are, ma'am, somebody's concerned, and they become vigilant and can actually act as a witness and say, I've witnessed a dog being chained for an inordinate period of time. The trailer dog in question we're very familiar with, and Nancy monitors that situation carefully. The dog should have and typically has the ability to be outside tethered and then go inside the trailer. It's an unoccupied owner-owned, but, dog owner-owned but unoccupied trailer at this point. We do deal with a lot of cruelty issues. We're proactive about it, and be happy to have one of my other staff members weigh in, if I could, just for a moment. Josh Weatherall supervises Nancy. Josh has been an animal control officer, dog trainer, police caniner for crowding 20 years now. So, Josh, if you've got a couple comments, I'd appreciate it.
Josh Weatherall, Sergeant with Cripple Creek Police Department. There is pros and cons as chaining your dog. They can get tied up, chains can get curled up. Ideally, having a fenced yard and allowing your dog to run is an ideal situation for them. As far as licensing and rabies, Nancy has the highest licensing of all the animals, or all the dogs in Cripple Creek than we've ever had, and she's very proactive about that. Some of the cruelty to animal cases, we've had several of them, where numerous dogs were living inside and defecating inside, and it became a hazard for the lady that was living in there. So there's pros and cons to both.
So I noticed, Lee, you're kind of looking through the ordinance there, and there's probably nothing, nothing chaining or tethering is in there.
There isn't. This is not a new issue. I drafted an ordinance addressing this issue for the city of Northland probably 25 years ago. There are plenty of models to choose from. It's just a classic kind of public policy issue to be addressed by the council.
It feels like
Okay. I was thinking about something over the last week or so, possibly killing two birds with one stone. Is it possible that we can send a letter to every resident based on the water bills, we got their addresses and everything like that, that states what the city, lack of a better term, allows regarding the chaining of dogs, other animals, and also feral cats. States our position, and at least let the residents know, hey, look, we're looking at what's going on around here. And if it comes down to getting a ordinance passed, we can work on that down the road. But can we put a letter together, sent out to every resident, covering both subjects?
That's directed to me, the short answer is yes. One of my favorite things to say to my clients.
The one challenge that will be, it won't necessarily go to every resident, or it won't necessarily go to the residents that have the dogs. It'll go to the owner of the structure now.
True.
Now, as the structure changes, like in my situation where the structure hasn't changed in renters, I get the water bill directly to my house, but in...
Could also post it in the post office, do copies in the post office, and for that matter, we can, well, I'm not going to say that, but in public places. So at least the residents are aware of the fact that, hey, we're looking at this, so, clean up your act. Like a better term.
I like that idea. This doesn't affect me, I've got a couple dogs, it doesn't affect anybody I know. It sounds like we're trying to legislate stupidity, and unfortunately, sometimes we have to do that, and that, it may come to that. I like Tom's idea of taking a softer approach at first. I don't know what you guys
So,
think.
what would be the process, Peach, to send out letters to? Is it
We can just get the wording from Lee, or you guys, however you want it done, and we can mail them out.
Yeah, we've got envelopes now. Well, it used to be the little card, and now it's a bill, it's a bill, it's an envelope.
It was put on the water bill.
We could do that, we could.
I know you put messages on there before.
We can put it on our website.
Well, that's what I'm saying, we've got a different bill now.
Right, it's a larger bill, we have more area to put it.
It's not the little card anymore. I thought I was getting a late notice.
If it please the council, I would volunteer. Well, I'm fortunate, I've got some talented folks that work with police canines, animal control. One of my dispatchers, Dawn Jacobs, is a vet tech, has done so for many years. She's helped draft the emergency plan for the county for disasters and how to properly evacuate and where to secure animals, fairgrounds, et cetera. Very talented lady. We could offer an educational flyer for the city administrator's review and council's review, that if you choose, you guys can ship out with the bills and just give people a nice general educational overview of the concerns for tethering animals, how to deal with feral cats, things of that nature, and just some helpful suggestions.
It's a real, it's not a major thing going on, there are some issues, but I think that'd be a good way to go. What do you guys think?
Of course, the next step. But, at least, tell the general public, hey, and again, Chief, your folks are doing an excellent job on the animal control, I mean that sincerely. But, again, it's just to let them, kind of a warning, hey, get it together.
I think one thing we have to be aware of, Marilyn, too, especially, a lot of the homes in town don't have fenced yards. You know what I'm saying? They don't have enclosures, and a lot of the people have pets. So we have to be aware that there has to be some accommodation to let them go outside and enjoy the sun or whatever, defecate, urinate, whatever, but we have to be careful about a total ban. Otherwise, those animals would have no enclosure and would be running at large, so we have to be kind of careful.
Understood.
Okay?
Excuse me, I forgot to mention that, but I'd be more than glad in my, to volunteer if, and I wasn't complaining about anything that's going on now at all. I just want you to understand I was not complaining about anything Nancy has done, not at all. But because there's no law against chaining, she can't do anything, see? So I would gladly volunteer if we see these things to pass out literature, and like he said, let them know stuff like that, that if it's, I think I'll be more than glad to volunteer for that, more than glad.
Let's work on some wording to put in the bills, and Chief,
Yeah, Chief, thank you.
I'd be happy to vet it. I'd make the chief's offer of
That'd be great.
providing some writing talent. It's great, and I think this is a good solution.
And then, do dogs get licensed every year?
Yes, sir.
So as part of the licensing process?
Let's just throw that in
We would send it out as well.
Might as well cover everything.
Sure. And Dr. Zollner, if I could seek your counsel at some point, I'd appreciate it.
I'd like to be a part of your discussion.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
All right. Ma'am, thank you for bringing this to our attention, and believe us, we will do the best we can on this, and if it comes to an ordinance, that's not out of the realm. Thank you.
Thanks, Mayor.
All right.
Thank you.
Good deal. All right, agenda item number 2, request approval of a memorandum of understanding between the City of Cripple Creek and Victor School District for a new transit shelter. Okay.
Afternoon, Ted Schweitzer, Transportation Manager. I'm here requesting your concurrence with a memorandum of understanding between the Cripple Creek and Victor School and the City of Cripple Creek for one shelter to be placed at B Street in Galena on the southwest corner. The school's already signed off on it. They're in agreement with the electrical connection and just kind of doing the routine maintenance on a daily basis, just the upkeep. I say maintenance, but the upkeep, trash, things like that. The city will be responsible for the maintenance portion of it. Historical Preservation has taken a look at the location. They agreed. Public Works has looked. They've agreed, and also the building department. We do have the grant, and we're just waiting on this phase of it to forward this up to CDOT so they can so we can show them that we are all in agreement, both parties.
Sounds like a good idea.
Is there any public comment?
Well, I will make a motion that we approve the memorandum of understanding between the city and the CCAB School District for the bus shelter. Second.
Vote?
Mr. Lutheran?
Yes.
Mr. Zollner?
Yes.
Mr. Ashworth?
Yes.
Mr. Hazel?
Yes.
Mayor Brown?
Yes. Thanks, Ted.
Thank you for your time.
Okay, agenda item number 3, public hearing. American Legion Post 171, request a variance to install a temporary handicap ramp on the north porch of 400 East Carr Avenue, extending to a connecting city sidewalk on the north side of the building. Legal, was it north, I guess, 36 FT 14 and 15 B14 CRCK Fremont Edition. Renee?
Sorry, that was a long
All
one.
that stuff.
Renee, Muller, Planning Department. The American Legion came to me with a request for a variance to build a ADA ramp. It's a temporary ramp. The building has a zero setback, and any changes outside of the building's footprint would be on the public right-of-way. Therefore, the American Legion is requesting this variance in order to place a temporary ADA ramp on the public right-of-way. American Legion is also requesting that the City Council agree to waive the $150 variance fee. It's my feeling that building this ramp would help the American Legion building become more handicap accessible. Public Works was contacted and is willing and will be requiring the sidewalks be put in under the proposed ramp. The sidewalks would be, they would have to go through the Public Works Department and live up to the standards of what the city requires. The new sidewalk and the ramp would certainly be an improvement in services to our community as well as to all the veterans locally and who come to visit. Staff recommends approving the variance and the fee waiver.
So is it a temporary until the sidewalk gets put in?
No, it's in order to set the ramp down, Public Works wants a sidewalk under it. Right now, it's dirt, and if it rains, you're going to have instability, and that's part of the sidewalk here, and then there's dirt, and part of the sidewalk there.
Right, but the question is, it's being called a temporary ramp.
I would have to let someone else speak to that, I'm not sure who's here.
So it's going to be temporary, then the sidewalk will be put in, and then there'll be a permanent ramp to it? Is that what you mean?
It's a permanent sidewalk would be put down. It's temporary because it's not going to be put inside the ground in a permanent fashion. It will be bolted to the building and go over the top of the current steps that are there. So, yeah, thank you.
Steve Dickmiller, Public Works Director. I think we're calling it temporary because it is not permanently attached, it is not going to be concreted in, it's going to be sitting on the ground. It would be removable. The sidewalk would run alongside it, connecting the current sidewalk to the landing of the base of the ramp, so that sidewalk is continuous so they can get handicapped people onto the ramp.
So it's possible that this could be there for a long time?
It could, but it could be removed also, that's why it's temporary.
Do you want me to go up in front? You'll go ahead. Okay. Okay. I'm the post commander of the American Legion Post 171. There's two reasons we're asking for this variance. The first is we will be required to be ADA compatible in the future. Okay? Compliance. The second thing is, following what Steve and Renee are saying, we will be applying for a grant here this fall. And if we have a variance, we have a much better chance of getting this grant to put this in. Also, it would pay for any of the sidewalk and curbing that would be required. Therefore, the city wouldn't have to pay for it. It'd be basically about a $10,000 grant. And we think we have a really good chance of getting that grant.
And the ranch sure would help.
Oh, yes, absolutely, because as you well know, our membership is getting older. And
some of our veterans had catastrophic injuries.
Absolutely.
I think it's a great idea.
And just as Public Works does support this.
So Tom, just so I know too, because I looked at the finances involved here for doing this, this would actually give you the venue to move forward for your grant and allow you to pursue other funds to help offset costs.
Absolutely.
Absolutely. I think it's a great idea.
Is there any public comment?
I'd like to also state that I'm in favor of the city waiving the $150 permit fee. I think these guys deserve more than $150 for their service to this country. That's the least we can do. So as part of this, I think it's stated in this motion.
Yeah, if I could offer a proposed motion. There are really three parts to it. The first part would be to approve the American Legion Post 171 request for a variance to install a temporary handicap ramp on the north porch of 400 East Carr. Second part would be that that's conditioned upon the execution of the town's, or the city's form of revocable license agreement. And the third element would be to waive the $150 filing fee.
Is there any discussion? Now I'll make that motion.
Second.
Vote?
Mr. Ashworth?
Yes.
Mr. Lithia?
I believe I have to recuse myself as being post commander.
Mr. Hazlett?
Yes.
Mr. Zollner?
Absolutely,
Mayor
yes.
Graham?
For sure, yes. Is Taz still back there?
Thanks,
Yes.
Yeah, back there. I want to say thanks for getting involved with the VFW Flag Day and disposing of the flags. We appreciate that. Well, we do.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, gentlemen.
All right.
Okay, agenda item number 4, public hearing, Little Mountain Inn, Kevin Miller requesting a size variance for a 60-foot flagpole and a 12-foot by 18-foot flag, 601 Bloom Avenue, legal L2R Hayden Placer. Renee?
Well, as you said, the Gold King Inn is requesting if they receive a variance to install a 60-foot flagpole to fly an American flag that is the size 18 feet by 12 feet. Cripple Creek Development Code requires no permit if the flag is 5 feet by 8 feet and the pole is 30 feet high when displayed in connection with a commercial use. I would like to read the opinion of the director of our marketing department. I got this afternoon late. We spoke about it and he just didn't get it to me until this afternoon. He states that I oppose any flag size or height that falls outside the city ordinance. Having a flag display that is much larger than a standard flag size does not enhance or contribute to Cripple Creek brand. The Cripple Creek brand that we are trying to build. I do not oppose in any way having a standard size pole and flag, as our city has a great history of honoring the flag, our country, and all those who have served to defend it. A flag of larger than standard portion, and especially one that is extra large, is out of place in Cripple Creek and the most authentic gambling and mining town in the West and the greatest gold camp in the world. I want to also state that I wholeheartedly support any efforts by any casino and business in this town who promote themselves as long as it speaks to and supports the Cripple Creek brand, of which they are a crucial component. The Wildwood is a major positive force in the community, and I will gladly discuss alternatives and other directions that may achieve their goals. I deeply appreciate their continued generous contributions to the community and citizens of Cripple Creek, and look forward to working on an appropriate alternative. I also in your packet had the letter from the American Legion, and they kind of have a similar opinion. I did receive one phone call from one person, a Mr. Schaefer, that has property next to the Gold King Mountain Inn, and he had absolutely no problem with it. I personally, staff agrees that with the marketing director that, and the American Legion, that the standard size flag is the appropriate way to go here. I recommend that you deny this variance.
So there already is a flag at this location, correct? There's one up there, I'm assuming it's the same spot.
I'm not sure what they've done with your, do you have a flag there already?
Yeah, at this point, it might be appropriate to allow the applicant to present its case.
Kevin, come on up.
Kevin Marner, Robert Casino. First off, I'd love to say this is my idea because I actually think it's a great idea, but it came from my boss on his last visit, Joe Canfora. And we do have a flag up there, and it is the maximum size allowed by the city. So I think the fact that everybody is saying, do they have one, don't they have one, kind of speaks to the fact that it doesn't display well. And the idea is, it has nothing to do with marketing. And it has nothing to do with branding unless, we're talking about branding our country and branding America. And our opinion is, in that area, the flag that's there is lost. And we intend to relocate that to the casino. But our opinion is it would be a great thing as you come into Cripple Creek and you come down the hill to see a nice big flag, because Cripple Creek is a very patriotic city. It has a great history within the country, and I think that flag lit up at night, you can see it from Bennett Avenue, you can see it as coming into town. Our opinion is exactly contrary to what was presented. It has nothing to do with marketing. It has to do with the country, pride for being an American and being part of a city that has great historic value.
Okay, thanks, Kevin. Is there any other public comment?
If I might put somebody on the spot, Taz, do you have any comments on this? No, I value your opinion.
He has comments.
You're about the only one. Taz Williams, 120 East May, member of the American Legion, life member of the VFW, life member DAV, disabled American veteran, Vietnam veteran, did 4 tours. Kevin, I truly appreciate what you're trying to do, I really do. But I have my doubts on a flag that big. It's kind of spooky to me. don't get me wrong, I love that flag, I'd kill for it again. But I'm kind of in the middle on this one. It's, as far as wanting to see a big flag, sure. As far as where they want to put it, I'm not sure. And that's why y'all make the big bucks. I'm just a peon, so that's the best I can help you with.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Let's also consider one-upmanship from other concerned patriotic people. I want the biggest, tallest flag in the city. Next thing we know, we may set a precedent. None of us have to say we love our country, we love our flag. And I appreciate what these guys are trying to do, and I think they're sincere. I just think it opens the door to a lot of really big flagpoles and big flags.
I think I'm kind of going on the side of the staff also. There's already a flag up there, and it's pretty good size. It's a good size pole and flag up there, and I can see it when I come in town, so that's just my opinion. I don't think it's flag either. Kevin?
Let's meet halfway. Let's do 45 feet and whatever flag is appropriate for that size pole and get it done.
I would think that would be a good alternative. Kind of what they're proposing.
That would be a 6x9 flag burial shroud.
Pardon?
A 6x9 flag is what you fly on a 45-foot flag.
There we are.
And what do we allow right now? 5x8?
And the Merchant Legion's favor 6x9.
That's not a whole lot bigger than what our ordinance has right now. So.
It's a burial shroud, it's what you see on the coffins, the 6x9. And that's our proposal then.
That sounds pretty reasonable.
I guess to finish what I started to say, was, I think this would be very appropriate to meet basically halfway, and it's pretty close to the standards. And so, being on the west side, or east side of locating Mount Mammoth, between it's on the highway side. But so, it's a lot more visible than where the flag is now. And, this is something they'd be able to see from about 10 foot, because that side of the flag you can see a long ways. So, I just sum it up, I'm in favor of putting a 45-foot pole in,
And it is
that's all I found.
Of course.
Of course.
Would you ask?
It's lit.
Okay. Well, yeah, it's going to be up after Sunday.
Of course.
It has to be lit.
Either it's lit or it comes down.
And it clearly is, and that was the one thing I wasn't sure of when I read the request. I assumed it was going to be a wildwood flag, but it is going to be...
No, this isn't about branding.
Okay.
Okay. And then we wouldn't have any other flag alongside or with it on the pole. It would be just the American flag. Our intention was to bring it to the back of the hotel, but if council feels the current location closer to the highway is a better location, then we're happy to comply.
What do you call it, back to the hotel?
The north side.
Well, he's got it on here.
Guys, I'm the guy that they invented GPS for, so north side.
It's on the highway side.
Yeah, it's where this shows it is now. Right. So you can see it from 67 into...
Right.
I commend you for, well, your boss, whatever, for coming up with this concept, because I think this town prides itself more than anything as being patriotic. I think the scale is a little large as you proposed. I certainly have no problem with an accommodation to modify that, whether we have to have a special
It would require a variance, and if you're, anytime you're ready, I'll have
Okay.
post motion.
But we need more of that in this country right now.
Renee?
I just,
one of the things that was brought up by the American Legion was that they were wondering about if there's some sort of maintenance plan for the flag. That's a pretty large flag. In order to get rid of it, they dispose of it in a certain way, and I don't know that they have a plan for that. But the American Legion had said that they would be happy to help with that because once they're torn up, they need to be replaced.
And there's a procedure for doing that, which we all know, which we just celebrated this weekend.
Yes, retirement, excuse me, I'm sorry about
And
that.
we just celebrated that this weekend,
Right.
Taz and you guys.
We can handle the 6 by 9, no problem, Kevin.
And we would appreciate the help, and you've never seen a tattered American flag on our property, ever.
I think the meeting halfway is, what do you think, Chris?
American Legion works for me.
So I believe the appropriate motion would be to grant the variance to allow a 6 by 9 foot flag and a 45-foot pole.
I'd like to make that motion.
Second.
Vote?
Mr. Easlett?
Yes.
Mr. Zolak?
Yes.
Mr. McDonough?
But, Lee, am I allowed to vote on this?
You are. You
Okay.
do not have a financial conflict, as long as there's been no financial
Making any money off of this?
Yes.
Yes. Yes. Thanks, Kevin.
Thank you, Kevin.
All right. Okay, agenda item number 5. Review of the 2016 Colorado legislative session. Saul now. And for those of you who don't know, Saul is our lobbyist.
Good evening, council, evening, citizens. Saul Malik, owner, proprietor, Peak Government Affairs, lobbyist for Cripple Creek. We just finished the legislative session. It's the second legislative session of the 70th General Assembly, so that means it's an election year, which drove a lot of the policy passed or not passed when it comes to the laws that were proposed. There were a few bills that were brought up that we were either monitoring or weighed in on or passed ourselves. So really, overall, we worked on bills having to do with bingo, municipal election codes, racetrack legislation, which we supported and was signed, general fund and severance tax funds that affected local governments, and these are all bills we tracked. And then off-highway vehicle use, which we've tracked every year since I've been on board with Cripple Creek. But the big one was Senate Bill 73. That's a bill we proposed and we passed successfully with a little bit of work. There's no such thing as an easy bill, and this is a bill that sets up an audit process for all of the gaming communities to look at the overall gaming revenue flow and how each city is actually using those historic preservation dollars. That's where we find the most contentious revenue use is within those historic preservation funding streams. So what this is going to do is set up 3 separate audits over 10 years, one commencing next September 1, the next in 2022, September 1 of, and September 1 of 2027. If after that we still don't have a clear vision of how those revenues are flowing and the problems aren't fixed, we can go from there and look deeper, but all we wanted was one audit, and that's what we requested last year about this time. That audit was denied because the state legislature did not have authority to audit a political subdivision, which cities and counties are. So this bill allowed 3 separate audits for political subdivisions by the state legislature and the state auditor, which for our purposes could turn out to be a very big victory, depending on what that audit comes up with. We know Cripple Creek has been above board, if not ad nauseum, and going way above and beyond where we should be, just to make sure we're compliant. And there are 2 other gaming communities that use historic preservation dollars for projects and other purposes that we would like a little more clarification on the legality of how those are actually being used. So really, that's my rundown. It was a fun year, but all the same, it's going to be an even more interesting election cycle, especially with the top ticket races. We'll see how that voter turnout goes and how that legislature looks next year. Bottom line, Cripple Creek is a nonpartisan entity. When we're at the Capitol, we do not look at Democrat or Republican. We look at what's best for the city and its citizens. So over the years, we've accomplished that and risen our profile to a point where not only are we effective, but not much moves in the gaming communities without us now. So having said that, it's pretty much my wrap up. And yeah, any questions, I'd be happy to answer.
I'd like to, on behalf of the city, I'd like to thank all the city council and Lee and Paul and your team. This has been going on for a couple of years. Yeah, 3 years. It's been a lot of work for everybody. And I think this has actually been the first bill that's ever been introduced and gone through legislation and signed for Cripple Creek.
Yeah.
So that's pretty good. And they know us, they know some of us up there now.
Well, that was the point. We were... Year after year, we were going on the defensive. We knew they were coming after us and coming after that funding. And once you all started your legislative program, not only did it stop, but it actually moved past that and moved to the proactive side, which the best defense is a great offense. And that's what we have not only put together, but succeeded. And for anybody, I don't care who it is, to introduce their first bill ever and to pass it the first year, that is very, very rare, and it takes a huge team effort and a coalesced community behind that team to make it happen. So I want to thank the council and the citizens for moving forward with this, because if we didn't do this and you didn't engage actively, the Cripple Creek Casino Association has very capable lobbyists, but they lobby for the casinos, not for the city. And Blackhawk and Gilpin County have very powerful entities in the form of lobbyists at the Capitol. So being able to counter that, being able to fight them adequately and effectively has been not only fun to watch, but as a small town boy, makes me pretty proud. So,
well, you were a big part of that, and I know we pay you, but
you do.
You seem to take it almost personal interest in this, and I thank you for it.
Well, I was born in my house in Crested Butte, so guarding the historical integrity of a small town, it's pretty deep. So yeah, it got a little personal for me, but adds to the fire, and I'm lucky I have a very capable team behind me in the form of Stephanie and Adeline, who are sorry they couldn't be here tonight, but it was an extraordinary effort, and something like this just doesn't happen. It took us 3 sessions to actually move something proactively and productively for Cripple Creek, not just fighting other forces trying to take revenue away from the city. So we've moved from a place of great weakness to a place of great power in a very short time. And I attribute that to us working together and having that dynamic that has been impressive, I have to say. And this was my 11th session. I don't think I've been a part of something quite like this, so I want to thank you for including me.
I'd like to also thank, if you haven't heard of him, Senator Kevin Grantham.
Yes.
And Representative Holly Lawrence. They're really good people. They're on our side, and Kevin is he out of Canyon?
He's out of Canyon, yeah.
And Paul is up in Denver, but they're really good people, and they're on our side, and they really help us out a lot.
Yeah. And they both represent the district that has Cripple Creek in it. So, and in a legislature that's split, one chamber being Republican and one chamber being Democrat, for us to pass any legislation, that just kind of adds to the profile that we've gained over the years. And I don't want to sound cocky, but the power we've grown is substantial. We're not going to go in and change the Constitution just because we want to and make everything how we want it, but we're well on our way to changing the entire dynamic.
So I'd like to echo the mayor's comments too. Thank you for all your efforts and your team. And I also want to thank this group of people up here. This has been a long fight from that end of the table all the way down to this end. It's not been easy. We've spent a lot of time in Denver, and we did it all for you guys, and I hope you appreciate that, because I think it's going to come back in spades. So once again, all you people here and you, thank you.
Absolutely. It was an honor and a pleasure.
Thank you, sir.
This being an election year, we know how Coloradans like to do ballot initiatives. Where do we know if there's going to be any attack against the gaming industry again? In other words, more racetracks are going to have limited state gambling at their places.
Sure. We can bet that they're not going to stop. We know there's a concerted effort by out-of-state and out-of-country interests that they see the gaming structure we have here, and they know if they move it out of the mountains or if they move it out of this area into more populated areas, there's a lot of money to make. And those people aren't going to drive here anymore, and they're not going to go to Black Hawk in Central City anymore. So title board hearings are over, so there's no more opportunity this year for an issue to hit the ballot. But because you can always relate it back to TABOR, which is the Taxpayer Bill of Rights, they can run an initiative next year. If it's tax-related, you can run initiatives any year. It doesn't matter. So I think the longer we are able to accept new out-of-state residents, we're growing at an enormous rate. The metro area is, I can tell you, just the traffic is unbelievable, just opposed to 2 or 3 years ago. So with more people coming out of state, there's more interest in expanding gaming, expanding alcohol consumption, locations, expanding whatever it is, whether it's gambling or marijuana or whatever people want to do, the more unregulated states who have citizens come here, the more of those citizens are going to want Colorado to be unregulated. Because we're a purple state, that's a big sort of dynamic, is how much is too much government and how much is just enough. So we will find out pretty quick, and a good example is this booze initiative allowing full-strength beer and wine. Sure. So there's an initiative right now that would allow grocery stores, convenience stores, and anybody who wants the license, it would be creating a new license, to sell full-strength beer and wine overnight. So once it passes, January 1 of 17, I can't remember if it's January 1 or July 1 of 17, but they'd be able to sell full strength overnight. Well, what we did in the legislature is we precluded that with legislation, which puts protections in, but all the same, with the new citizenry in Colorado and the new population we have, they're all coming from states like Arizona and New Mexico, California, the East Coast, where you can buy alcohol anywhere, full-strength alcohol. So with the changing dynamic, we think the polling is moved far enough to one side to completely deregulate alcohol sales locations, and I think gambling and gaming is next. We've done it with marijuana. Tobacco, not really as big an issue as it used to be. Any controlled substance, any issue or substance that's technically a sin tax and provides the state with revenue, the more those people come in, the more the state's going to say, sure, we like that revenue, so open it up. So we just have to be careful, vigilant, work with our elected officials, most importantly work with the citizens in our communities to make sure they're educated and understand the impacts, the real, true impacts of what would happen if we expand gaming. If you expand where you can sell alcohol, those are all mom and pop businesses that are gone. I don't think Cripple Creek's a mom and pop town, but it would go the way of mom and pop alcohol locations if gaming is expanded. So.
I think us and Blackhawk and Central Cities need to start getting on the same page and working together, because if they do get a casino in the metro area, it's not going to us, but leaving Blackhawk.
That's right. So to that point, part of the bill we passed was an agreement, not to commit to any, we're going to do this for Blackhawk or with Blackhawk and Central City, but just to sit down with our legislators who represent Teller County and Cripple Creek, the legislators that represent Gilpin County and Blackhawk and Central City, History Colorado, the governor's office, I know there's 4 or 5 more, but just to sit down and, like you're saying, talk about the larger issues affecting Colorado in regard to gaming, because I can tell you what, this isn't going to go away. The more population that comes in, the more money there is to be made. So being cognizant, being vigilant, and making sure we protect ourselves in a united way with the other gaming communities is just going to gain more importance. I think right now we're okay being sort of isolated down here, but that's changing. And we're going to have certain things start to move. And I'm not just talking about voting populations. There are legislators now who are from out of state, who have gained their residency, who now have the ability to vote on serious, real policy that affects our interests and could be very damaging if they're not kept educated and well-informed the way we need them to be. So.
And I think Paul, today he and I were talking about this legislation and historic preservation, and what's going to happen is we're going to lose that institutional knowledge with the legislators, the gaming division, and even city councils over the years. The gaming was brought to the state for historic preservation, not economic development of these 3 little towns. It was historic preservation. And what's going to happen is it's going to become more of a money grab issue. And so once it becomes economic development instead of historic preservation, Cripple Creek will look, I think, tremendously different.
What you do to be competitive. I don't know.
So I think we need to keep it out in front of the legislators, all the existing legislators, and then the new ones saying, hey, they've got to remember the history. And because, I mean, you look at these other historic mining towns, they've become really tourist magnets, and mainly because they've got something that Cripple doesn't have, skiing and whatnot like that, but there's very little history. I mean, it's Hollywood history, is what you see at these places, not real history like we have.
And I think that's 100% accurate. The second this becomes about economic development, it's already over. We're a proud state regarding our history and how we became. It hurts me to see things like the Bud Light Festival going to Crested Butte. I was born on 3rd and Socos there, and to see the streets painted blue and the notoriety it got, it took away from the spirit of that city. So I think protecting that historic integrity voraciously is hugely important, not only for the state and its well-being, but for the citizens who live here and enjoy it. So.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, John. Thank you, everyone.
Okay, agenda item number 6, request mayor to sign the revised contract for the DOLA grant. Steve, pick it up.
Good evening, Mayor and Council.
Good evening.
Your last meeting, I think it was, I briefed you on the DOLA grant, $835,616 that we were awarded. In going through that, Ray and I both had spotted a misprint on the dates of when that had to be completed. You now have in front of you the updated version of it with the correct dates on it. I'm asking you to pass a resolution or a motion to allow the mayor to sign this. I did not realize how time-sensitive this was. You get it signed, I am running it to Denver tomorrow. It has to be in their hands tomorrow.
I mean, the issue is, if it didn't happen tonight, it would just move back another month with the state, getting it signed. And one reason that we want it signed and delivered tomorrow is, and while I don't believe this is at risk, until we have a signed document, it is at risk. And the state has frozen these energy impact funds because of a lawsuit that the Colorado Supreme Court agreed with the oil and gas industry, saying that they believe the state owed money back to an oil and gas industry because of some tax credits that maybe weren't issued or allowed. And so that's why we want to get this signed. It shouldn't affect any already awarded money, the freezing. It's for future grants. But still, Aaron, I want to get this, I want to get their signature on it now.
Yes.
Is there any public comment?
Just that I've reviewed the grant agreement and I approve it as to form and legality.
Motion would be, or do you need a?
Yeah, the motion would be to approve and authorize the mayor to sign the revised contract for the DOLA grant as submitted.
Make that motion. Second it.
Vote?
Mr. Lutheran?
Yes.
Mr. Hazel?
Yes.
Mr. Zolman?
Yes.
Mr. Ashworth?
Yes.
Mayor Brown?
Yes. Thank you guys for finding that, and let's get this rolling.
Thank you. We will get that up there.
Get two signed copies.
Yeah, I was saying,
Yes, she's got it. Yes.
Steve, drop that.
Yeah.
He said we trip up, I was going to do it, but
Good.
We're going to look at some equipment while I'm there.
yeah, it's going to be 3 trips in one.
Nice. It's time I'd like to, well, we need a motion to go into a...
And there's a proposed formal motion on the back of the agenda.
I got it. A motion to go into executive session to determine positions relative to matters that may be subject to negotiations, develop a strategy for negotiations, and/or instruct negotiators pursuant to CRS 24-6-4024E. Second. Vote?
Mr. Ashworth?
Yes.
Mr. Zolman?
Yes.
Mr. Lutheran?
Yes.
Mr. Hazel?
Yes.
Mayor Brown?
Yes. Thank you all for coming out this evening.
I'm trying to get you this out of
Temporary, and then